This is the beginning of Chapter 7 and dealing with measurement. And this is 7.1 in prealgebra having to do with length. So what we're going to do with length is go over how to convert one measurement to another, such as feet to inches, miles to feet, that kind of thing. And make sure that you write down your different conversions. Now, looking at the beginning of this lesson, it gives you your 12 inches equals a foot, 1 yard equals 3 feet, 1 mile equals 5,280 feet. Those are important to know, as well as the other blue boxes showing you the idea of converting. And I do the converting a little bit different than what the book does. I follow, for the most part, the same principles, but you'll find that things are a little bit different. So for example, if we look at example 1, where it says convert 5 feet, and what I do here is I write 5 feet, and then I draw an arrow, and then inches. So I'm converting 5 feet to inches. So first step when you're doing this, and you can probably just go, oh, well, 5 feet, 12 inches in a foot, 5 times 12 is 60, and I'm done with it. But as they get more and more complicated, using that method gets to be a little bit tougher. In fact, sometimes it gets to be impossible. So I'm going to show you a method of converting that will always work in all situations, regardless of how complicated the problem is. And so what we're going to do is we're first of all going to write what we're given. And we're always going to put the unit of measure on there as well. So we're going to put feet on there, and we're going to make a multiplication sign and then a line, and that line is for a fraction. That is what you will always do, the first step, every single time you do any of these conversions. So that makes it easy. Next step is whatever our unit of measure is that we started with, in this case feet, we will put down underneath. And then what we'll do is we will look at comparing what we have down here with what we have up here. Do we know a comparison between inches and feet? If we don't, then there's some other steps that we do. But if we do know a comparison between inches and feet, then we look at that comparison. So the comparison between inches and feet is there are 12 inches in 1 foot. So this is our conversion, our main part of our conversion. And we write it that way, 12 inches over 1 foot. The next step then would be we have a foot up here and a foot down here, which actually this 5, if you were to write it as a fraction, would be 5 over 1. So what we've got is we have a foot in the numerator position and a foot in the denominator, which means we can cancel the feet here, which leaves us with inches, which is what we're looking for. So that tells us when it's time to stop, that we don't have to do anything else because the numerator has the inches and that's what we're looking for. So then I just multiply my numbers. So if I multiply 5 times 12, I get 60, and then I put the unit that has not been canceled, which is inches, and I'm done. So let's look at something like example number 2. Example number 2 gives us a ceiling height in houses of 8 feet, and they're wanting us to convert that to yards. So again, we're going to write our 8 feet, what was given to us there, write a times sign, write a fraction line, and put our unit of measure in the denominator that we started with. So we have feet and feet. And now we can compare whether or not there is something in common between yards and feet. Do we know anything about what we're looking for and what we started with, that whatever is in the denominator here? Well, I know that there are 3 feet in 1 yard. Okay, so that's my conversion. So notice I have a foot here and a foot here, which I always will, and then I can always cancel. And yards is what I was looking for, and that's what I have on the top here. so that means I'm done. So 8 times 1 is 8, and then I have a 3 here. So I'm going to divide that, 8 divided by 3, and I get 2 and 2/3 yards. And again, the ending, my unit of measure here will always be what is not canceled over here. My feet are canceled, my yard is not, so that means it goes here. So example 3 gives me a football field, and it says it's 100 yards long, and I'm changing that to inches. So 100 yards times line yards. Okay, so do I know anything about inches and yards? Let's say that I don't. Let's say that I don't know that there's a comparison. It's like, no, I don't know how many inches there are in a yard at all. So do I know any other comparison with yards? Well, I know that there's 3 feet in a yard, so that's the comparison I'm going to use. I'm going to put 3 feet is equal to 1 yard. Okay, so now I can cancel my yards here and here, and I look at this, my numerator here, what isn't canceled? Feet. Well, that's not what I'm looking for, so that means I'm not done. Therefore, I make another times sign and another fraction line. So whenever you're not done, you make another times sign and another fraction line.
There's a bird in the house.
Oh goodness. Anyway, I will be back as soon as I get the bird out of the house. Alright, so bird is out of the house, safely in the trees. And let's continue on with this, if I can figure out where I was. Alright, so we canceled our yards, and the feet up here is not canceled, but that's not what we're looking at. So just like we had yards here and we put yards here, we have feet here, and we're going to put feet here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look and say, do I know anything about inches in feet? Yes, I do. I know that there are 12 inches in 1 foot. I can cancel this foot with this foot. So as long as you're canceling above and below, you can cancel. And inches is what I'm looking for. Inches is what I have left. So now I'm going to go ahead and multiply all of my numbers here. And again, this 100 here is the same as 100 over 1. So it's a numerator. So I'm going to multiply 100 times 3 times 12. So 100 times 3 is 300. 300 times 12 is 3,600 inches. And I look and see what's on the bottom. And I have to multiply everything that's on the bottom. Well, fortunately, what's on the bottom are all ones. So we can leave our answer like that. Or we can just leave the 1 off and have 3,600 inches for our answer. So if we follow that principle, we can do any of these problems using that idea. So let's say, for example, we want to convert miles to inches. So if we want to convert miles to inches, we'd have 3 miles, and we want to convert that to inches. So we do it the same way, 3 miles, make our times sign, make a line, put our miles down here, and then look and see, do we know anything about miles in inches? We don't. But what do we know about miles? Well, we know that there are 5,280 feet to 1 mile. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I can cancel my miles here and my miles here. And I look here and say, is this what I'm looking for, feet? No, I'm looking for inches. So I keep going. So I make a times sign, make a line, take my feet and put it down here. And now I look and say, okay, do I know anything about feet in inches? I didn't know anything about miles in inches, but I know something about feet in inches. And I know that there's 12 inches in 1 foot. Again, cross out this feet, cross out that feet, And what's not crossed out is inches, and yes, that's what I'm looking for. So that means I'm done. So now I just multiply my numerators. So I'm going to multiply 3 times 5 times 12. And then these are 1 times 1, so I don't do anything. So I'm going to multiply all of that together, and I will be done, and I will have how many inches there are in 3 miles.